I am a game developer, and as a game developer, I have come across a problem that has haunted me. Something so large, so looming, something so extremely difficult to overcome. I suck. I think it's important to clarify. When I say game developer, I presume most people think of a video game like Minecraft or Valorant or RuneScape. Nobody thought of RuneScape. I wish somebody would think of RuneScape. But if you've been around for a bit, you'd probably know me best by Utopia Tabletop RPG. Instead of downloading a game off of Steam or popping a disc into your console, my biggest publication is, well, a book. In this video, we're going to be talking about two very important perspectives, the developer versus the player. Why a developer does the things they do, and not just how this affects the player base, but where communication falls short. All the stupid mistakes I made in the game and all the bugs that the community found long before I did. If you've ever loved a game so much, just for the developers to make a change that was so unthinkably silly, bad even, this is the perfect video for you. Let's talk about why I, as a game developer, make the controversial decisions I do when constructing a game. I'm going to take a moment to preface, you don't need to know how to play Utopia TTRPG in order to watch this video. If you're interested in following along, there's two options. You can go on the Mirror Myth website and download the prototype under downloads for free. It's a pre-publication edition of the game with a big old patch note text in the back, but it's completely playable and totally free. If you'd like the full game, you can purchase it on the same website, but I'll go more into that at the end of the video. Neither of those things are required. I'll explain and visualize everything as I go. So with that, let's get started. The keystone feature of Utopia TTRPG is customization. Be anything, be anybody. Whatever setting you want, from fantasy to sci-fi, any character build, even a custom item crafting system, and spell building feature by feature, fully modular for advanced players. Now, this game is a tabletop RPG, so it's meant to be played with the core guide, a character sheet, and some various forms of dice. Very similar to how Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder would be played, but with its own system and rules and things like that. Now, I've already promised something quite bold. Ultimate customization. There's no maximum level, no class selection, every character is made piece by piece. Your backstory is meant to be crafted while you play, rather than before you play. And that's all hunky-dory and all, but how does one actually do that? How does a game manage something like this? I'll tell you now, not easily. With even just the premise, we've hit our first hurdle. The more customization a player's experiences, the more difficult it is to balance the game. If you can do literally anything, then it's not really a game anymore. I mean, I might as well hand you a pen and paper and tell you to go ham. A game needs some friction, some kind of opposing force or limitation for you to funnel your effort into. The experience is based around the output created against those limitations. More than that even, a tabletop RPG is meant to be about telling a story. Not just any story, but your story. So how do these mechanics assist in that storytelling process? Well, to start, let's talk about how Utopia specifically works. This will be a super surface level look at the game. If you're interested in learning the full system, I'll leave a card in the top right, as well as a link to the website that includes a full tutorial. In Utopia, you'll start by making a character. You'll choose a species, either one of the 15 pre-built options or one you designed custom. Rather than choosing a class, you'll choose some number of talents from what are called talent trees. These have a prerequisite hierarchy. So in order to take this talent, you'll have to take this talent first. Each talent tree works this way, in descending order. As you play, you'll unlock more and more points to spend on these various talents, slowly manifesting new abilities as you progress. To boot, your subtraits, basically your character's universal stats, will increase by 1 each level. Utopia is designed to level pretty often, so through an entire campaign, you'll watch your character grow a pretty decent amount. If you take talents from this tree, known as the innovation tree, you'll unlock the customized crafting section of the book, where you can design items feature by feature from scratch. If you use this tree, the magecraft tree, you'll similarly be able to customize spells up to right before you cast them, depending on how you unlock the various arcane arts. And that's pretty much the long and the short of it. And potentially, you've already sniffed out some issues. Let's dive into some of those. I said earlier in the video that this game is universal. It's a game system. But that last tree I spoke about, the magecraft tree, I don't remember seeing Gandalf in Star Wars Episode 3, so what gives? How could the system possibly be universal? Well, I could tell you that the book was specifically designed so that you can rip this magecraft tree right out of the book. Or if you feel like it, you can use a flavor spin, change the term magecraft for technomancy. Treat this as a different fundamental force of your universe. I once saw somebody design, and I'm being so serious, Pod zombies in this tabletop RPG game. Instead of unlocking talents through leveling, you'd buy talents from perk machines. It was really cool. However, none of that really matters at the end of the day because the book doesn't do enough to explain this fact. Unfortunately, I completely forgot the perforated edge in the Minecraft tree. God damn it. Unfortunately, I completely forgot the perforated edge in the Magecraft tree for easier tearing. If we're looking to make a universal system, we have the choice of including magic or excluding magic. But it doesn't appear that way. It feels fundamental to the game. If I could go back and change something to fix this, I'd add at least an excerpt that explained this facet. What pieces the book is broken into, what can be removed, what it'll affect, and how to remedy that issue. Luckily, that's literally the only issue in the entire game. Otherwise, this is a shining gem of perfect design with no other problems. Oh, you want me to read that? The list of issues that made its way into the final publication? Yeah, I'll do, yeah, I can do that. Hey now, I know you're very, very excited for me to belt off all of my failures like I'm applying to get fired. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you to... Okay, actually, I really do want to be real for this one. The support on this video would really mean a lot to me. These videos really do take a long time to produce, and we care a lot about what we do. Sometimes it can be difficult to ride the line of making videos that we love to produce about the topics we adore and staying within the light of relevance. If you feel like it, shoot me a like, subscribe to the channel, or if you really want to, check out another video from my channel after this. Nothing helps more than that last one. I appreciate your consideration, thank you for being here, and here's me getting crushed by a piano for your patronage. Okay, you got the foam piano, right? Like the fake one? That one looks really... No, wait, that's not... God, I really do love the sizable length of this list of all my failures. It really is a good mood booster. Okay, here's some things in my game that I, as a creator, wish I would have had a bit more foresight for. The forging mechanic is designed to be limited by the GM. It doesn't explain that well and often ends up as a level 30s finding max rarity components. Necromancy was also designed to be limited by the GM, but doesn't explain that well enough. Cybernetic Cyborg is a funny name since cyborg stands for cybernetic organism, so it's now a cybernetic organism, basically the chai tea / ATM machine of Utopia. Custom species are extremely versatile, and a min-max custom species is very powerful, forcing GM intervention to not have Superman joining a party of commoners. This man is not a bird and is not named after a breakfast food. This line of talents is poorly explained. The influence tree was meant to introduce a non-combat method of play for the game, but just offers less value than the other trees and almost does the opposite of incentivizing non-combat play. The term breathless is used twice for completely different mechanics. The leap mechanic is excessively broken, and even a child seems to have a 15-foot vertical for some reason. Fall damage is essentially negligible prior to terminal velocity. The multi-weapon attack mechanics is racist against creatures that only have 2 arms. This creature stat block is literally just built wrong, like its calculations are just completely off, which sucks since it's the most powerful creature in the book, barring customs. In order to have the best average damage output on custom weapons, it's technically optimal to use D4s over any other dice, since the system only checks for max dice. This heavily incentivizes dump trucks worth of caltrops every single time you attack. Custom consumables items require the dosed feature, which is fine, minus the fact that the dosed feature doesn't exist anymore. Sorry, I guess you can't build consumables anymore? This paragraph explains that augmented items do not count against the number of items your character can carry, and literally the next paragraph says that it does. The answer was supposed to be that it does. And some other things. I think that paints a pretty decent picture. So let's ask the most blatant question of it all. Why don't I just fix it? Oh yeah, we're tackling my favorite issue, manufacturing and supply issues. This game was originally a Kickstarter, and that Kickstarter did really well. I'm very gracious to the amazing people I've met and the community that has gathered around this game. Unsurprisingly, thousands of eyes are a lot more perceptive than 2, especially when those 2 are attached to somebody who gets distracted when the washing machine plays the funny little jingle. What was I talking about? There had to be a point where I was locked into the final game. I had a manufacturer that was waiting on me to send a finalized manuscript, and I had backers that were waiting on me to release the final product they'd been waiting so patiently for. The game was already delayed, and time was beginning to weigh heavier and heavier. A quality game is always better than a rush game, but that's just the issue. We didn't catch them. I'm absolutely positive that many people did. In fact, I can sniff out a few exact examples of people trying to tell me. But at this time, the Discord filled up faster than the burner email I used to sign up to random websites. I tried so hard to keep up with everybody. But with all of this happening, while also pushed up against finalizing the game and having an impending deadline that I had already missed, I just missed my mark. When it went to print, we felt pretty confident that we had caught everything we meant to. And now, we'll never see another consumable item. Okay, just to be clear, you are intended to be able to craft the consumables. You don't have to use the dose feature that doesn't exist. And now I have literally thousands of copies in circulation, and I can't go back and fix what's already turned into ink on the page. Can I make a second edition, or perhaps just fix future copies? Yes, and yes, but with some limitations, to say the least. Making this game was not cheap, for both money and for time. A second edition is technically possible, but it's far from my chosen path. Maybe one day, Utopia 2.0. Maybe one day. Fixing future copies can work, but it outdates previously existing copies and the special editions that came from only the Kickstarter campaign. And yet, that's probably our best option. This format is a very difficult format to make updates to. I can post updates to a separate website, but I'm pretty sure that if I show another page of errata to the Utopia experts that have been around since the beginning, they'll be knocking on my window with an 8d8 claymore. And the cherry on top of all of these supply chain level issues, the creature looming in our collective creator closet. I probably wouldn't change most of it anyways. Uh-oh, the video just started a new chapter. That probably means we're talking about a new important topic. I hide behind my own lack of diligence quite often, but there were a lot of issues in Utopia that I was already aware of from the beginning, before showing the game to the world. I spent 4 years building this game, and it has been reiterated many times. I've caught a lot of teeth between these pages. But at the end of the day, the final product fits the philosophy and concept I wanted from the beginning. With the issues, sure, but it's all a part of the process I was really hoping for. I'll give you one good example and one bad example, just so we can cover the entire spectrum. The center of the warfare tree doesn't do a very good job of explaining what the talent actually does. I've kind of beaten this dead horse a bit, so I'll be quick. There's not enough space in this chevron to fit the full intent of this ability. I have to find a way to keep the text large and readable. I have a limited number of pages to utilize and a limited amount of area on every page. There are a lot of things that got cut from the game simply because I didn't want this book to be so thick that even those children with a 15-foot vertical couldn't hurdle it. There are a ton of physical issues that are likely not very obvious when it comes to designing this game, and there are probably some elegant solutions that will never be seen by the public stashed away in Utopia. But if I did my job right, you'll never notice them. Let's grab a good example of an issue I kept purposely, so to speak. When adding damage to a custom weapon, the system only checks for the maximum damage capable. It's completely agnostic to what dice you use, so it sees a single 20-sided die, or 1d20, as equivalent to 4d5. The average roll of 1d20 is 10.5, whereas the average roll of 45 is 12.5. Did this fly out from under my nose at the last second? Not at all. I knew that when I wrote the game. Utopia literally uses a 3d6 system instead of a d20 system due to them having better averages. The game is balanced under the assumption that you're rolling these marginally better averages. However, that 1d20 is going to roll 20 a lot more often than that 5 4-sided dice. It's a style of gameplay. I learned a lot interacting with the flood of new community members, and needless to say, there's a lot of people who will forego optimization for either thematic purposes or for the sake of ease. There's also a lot of people who love to find ways to essentially solve the game entirely. Find the biggest numbers this game can spit out at the lowest level humanly possible. Like I said in the beginning, this game is about telling a story. It's a game because of the challenge of overcoming those limitations. It may not be universally agreed, but I'm completely content with this game mechanic, and many others like it. I have one more box unchecked in the list of things I promised at the beginning of this video. I really needed to write the script before writing the intros. I literally just signed myself up for promises I never considered. Surely that would bleed into how I design games. When all is said and done, what happens next? As a game developer, I've obviously learned a ton about not only how this game functions, but more importantly, how it doesn't. I know this game's limitations very well. There's content I wish could have made it into the final copy. There's abilities I want players to have access to. There's more systems I think would suit this game so well. So, we keep developing. There are two different types of expansions that were intended for Utopia from the very beginning: vertical expansions and lateral expansions. What does that mean? Did you just make that up? I mean, probably. I didn't get it from somewhere. I was more just a lateral expansion is one that aims to add specification rather than power. An expansion that, instead of unlocking higher and higher tiers of crafting, gets into specifically cooking or alchemy or other specific niches. It fills out the existing game more and more, filling the gaps rather than expanding its reach. Vertical expansions are designed to increase the overall power ceiling of the game. In Utopia, you can get a character to roughly level 100 before they begin to meld together a little bit, just by nature of soaking up all of the available talents. By roughly level 250, it would be difficult to tell two characters apart at all, unless one of them just started doing laps through the prowess tree, the only tree that you can take multiple times. A vertical expansion will increase this ceiling substantially, offering more and more content for characters to access. And just because it's a vertical expansion doesn't mean it only matters in the mid to late game build. This can be content that's accessible all the way at the beginning level of 10. Utopia was designed with exactly two vertical expansions in mind. The first one made to offer more vertical specification. Since Utopia is so general, it can be difficult to nail down a specialization for your character. The first expansion would give you a proper domain, the difference between a mage and a pyromancer, a mage that gets extra value by limiting their scope. The second expansion was, and I mean this quite literally, designed for godhood. This will be the thing that activates that rags to riches pathway on a Giga Chad level. Your beginning bouncing baby level 10 character can progress, session by session, all the way to literal godhood through these two expansions. I know, because these expansions have already been partially developed. All right. I'm going to start diving into other ways that you can find me or keep up to date with Utopia's development. I totally understand if you want to bounce out here. And before you do, I would request that you consider checking out some other videos from me. But with that in mind, if you're interested in Utopia as a game or its further development, check those links in the description. I'm active in my Discord server and go deep into conversation about mechanisms of this game with the community all the time. On Twitch, 2 out of every 3 Sundays, I do active development for Utopia's next expansion live on stream. This is the perfect place to give feedback, ask about the next portion of the game, or just watch the process unfold. Champion tier patrons on Patreon can also grab the sweet technical manuscript way early, all with live updates and everything. And of course, if you're interested in playing Utopia in its current form, you can grab it from the Myth website. Under downloads, you'll find the completely free prototype version. It has errata text, plain text patch notes essentially, and it's missing a ton of art, but it's absolutely playable. Otherwise, you can grab yourself a paid digital version or physical version of the final game. There's a ton of people online looking for games, even a Westmarch server dedicated to Utopia, if you've ever heard of one of those. Thank you to everybody who just faded off screen for supporting me and the mini projects I work on, especially those Daemons and Paragons. Those are purely supportive tiers with no extra content, and it's unreasonably cool that you guys are supporting the efforts so hard. You guys are way too awesome. Honestly, if you could dial it back a bit, jeez. All right, until the next time I get a chance to see you. Thanks.